Well, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about compound today. Hit that like button, you guys. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get into it, okay? $68.55 now. I had no idea that the compound community was so needy, you guys. It's okay. I promise you, I promise you that this thing's okay. When we're at the same lows that we've been finding support at, you know, we're a little bit lower. I get that it's concerning. Volume isn't really picking up at all as we're making this move down. Anytime you're making a move and volume's dying off, that's actually a good indication that that move will likely be reversed, right? Same thing to the upside here. I mean, I guess here you topped off with immaculate volume, but you had a very noticeable wick too. So again, volume increasing with pretty solid bodies to the upside generally means you're going to go up, but a lot of volume, crazy, like just spike in volume like that with a crazy spike in the daily candle, obviously that would indicate a reversal as well. Not always does it mean you get a reversal, you never know, but just generally speaking with volume, this is all I'm trying to say, is that likely with this decrease in volume as we're moving down, that to me does not promote fear, right? In fact, the volume was increasing for a second here, and that was from this low to this high. And then the volume started to decrease again as we started to move down, which means there was interest in buying. There's not as much interest in selling, though we still are selling off for whatever reason. Call it standard volatility. Call this a fake out if you want to. I would call it a fake out. I think it is. I think compound's fine. I'm actually considering buying more at these prices, $68.64. It's about... It's a little bit higher that bring up my dollar cost average, but it doesn't matter, man. Dollar cost average, if you focus on having a low dollar cost average instead of just getting in, sometimes that can actually bite you in the ass, right? Like at a moment like this, whenever you're in a long consolidation phase, okay, yeah, it makes sense to dollar cost average. But when you're in a moment like this where we're on the precipice of breaking out, it doesn't make so much sense in my opinion. It makes more sense to just get in, but not financial advice, just my opinion here. If we're looking at the fibs, the relative fibs from this low that we had in November to the high that we had in December, the golden ratio, the 618 is right there at 63.60 to 57.97 right there. And I believe 63 bucks, if I remember correctly, that was the number we were watching to break initially anyways, right? All the way back here. If we go on a weekly basis, it might be more obvious. Yeah, this was the area. Because this, but I remember we were over here, we were talking about breaking 63 would likely be a good thing. And it was, but it didn't merit any more fruit. It was still another fake out. But if you look here, you had a fake out here, where you kind of found support in this area, but really that 63 level is where you found resistance. It's the line of most resistance here, and it could be the area where you're finding support. Now, wouldn't it make sense to check back at the area that you found resistance for literally over like 2 years? Check back and find support there and then move up, and that's what ignites your overall spectacular rally that leads you to new all-time highs, that leads you to prices that you haven't seen in 3 years or more. That to me makes sense. So here we are sitting at 68 cents. I'm not worried at all. We could drop another $5 just because the golden ratio is down there, just because we've just made sense out of the price going down there does not mean it has to. You could turn around right here. You know, a lot of people, myself included, right? But there's traders out there, there's institutions, there's people who are investors, whatever, just looking at this thing. They all have access to the golden ratio. They're all aware of it, right? They all have access with their eyeballs to see the same level of prior resistance that could be confirmed as support. They all see it. Generally, whenever you have an area that's that obvious, sometimes you don't reach it. You reach for it, but you don't actually hit it, and that's being front run. They call that being front runned, or you're front running. Right, front ran. I don't want to say front ran. It sounds weird. Front runned also sounds weird. So they're front running you, which means there's so much buying pressure down here. The price can't even get there. It's being moved up ahead of time in the anticipation that this low amount of selling pressure, high amount of buying pressure would indeed send the price higher. So instead of buying here, they're buying a little bit ahead just so that they can get in, and that all the noobs who are waiting for this price, or all the people who are expecting the obvious price, they get left in the dust, and then they have to buy at higher prices anyways, sending these guys' bags to the moon. Maybe that's what happens here. Maybe it's not. I don't know. I'm not saying that we go to 63 bucks. And in fact, if I had to lean to one side, I actually would assume that we do go to 63.60. I do assume we do. It makes the most sense out of the fibs, but we don't have to. That's all I'm saying. Even though that would make sense to me, and I suppose that's my call, is we move down to 63.60. If we just move up from here, that's okay with me, man. It's not gonna that wouldn't even be completely unexpected either. But in this kind of land of maybe it does this, maybe it does that, I'm gonna lean to the downside, because to me it does make more sense momentarily. If we look at the 4-hour time frame, you can also see that the 4-hour RSI is rather weak. pretty weak, you were living below the 50, that's never a good thing, man. That's terrible, right? You're getting higher highs here in your RSI while promoting lower highs in the price. It's hidden bearish divergence. Likely you would see this go down, right? This to me does not look like a bounce of which you build from, right? This is more of a bounce that you build from, and it still went down, right? So I think absolutely we will go lower. 63 bucks. If you're shitting your pants here, get ready to, I don't even know, man, buy some new pants or something, because we're probably going to go a little bit lower. And then in no time at all, let's talk about the stuff that everybody wants to hear, which is the price is going to go up. DeFi, you guys, is one of the most practical applications for crypto, especially in a what we call institution cycle, right? This is the cycle where the institutions come in. Coins like this are going to explode, man. Mark my words, DeFi is going to be in this cycle in just a matter of no time. But not just any DeFi projects that most likely existed last cycle. But those are the ones that I think they're going to do the best, right? Maybe some that came about this cycle could do better. There always are some that do really well. But anyways, from the current price, when we do break out, when we do move higher, the minimum target would be at the 618, the golden ratio here at $235. And that would put us at about a 235% growth. That's about a 3.3x. If we do something that's a little bit more miraculous than this, and a lot of coins we have seen from their bull market highs to their bear cycle lows when they've had these long phases of accumulation, like XRP, like ADA, like, well, maybe not ADA actually, but XRP and XLM and HBAR, I believe all of them, if not at least a couple of them, but I believe all of them, all three of those, when they broke out of their accumulation phases, they didn't stop at their golden ratio, maybe for a day or two, maybe for a moment, but they went up to their 786, 886 area. So Compound, being in this aggressively just long accumulation phase, which definitely has a bullish tilt. You're going higher lows and higher highs, and it's still an accumulation phase, but it's showing its hand. I have a theory. You went down super fast. You're going to go up even faster. Where are you going to stop? The only place, if we're looking at this with our eyes, right, if we're just using our eyes, the only place that would make sense to stop would be basically here. That's a pretty significant area. Resistance, support. But hold up, that wouldn't make sense. We're going to break out of this multi-year consolidation phase just to stop here. That doesn't make sense to me. High to low here. Come on now. High to low here. Doesn't make sense on the fibs either. Okay, so that's out. Let's use our eyes some more. What next area might make sense? Okay, well here it's not as pronounced of a stopping point as this one, but it's the next stopping point at 240. High to low here. Okay, yeah, that's right above the golden ratio. We could make sense out of that, right? You've got a little bit of significance here, some support here, though you did go through it, and then some resistance here, though you did go through it as well. So I personally don't think that you stop here either. Again, just using our eyes, because you don't even need all these indicators, man. You can just look. You can look at a chart and find support and resistance just looking back in time. You'll probably find significance at all of these levels, or some of them, right? And maybe the significance is just momentary, not anything that's long-lived, but still some relative significance. All I'm trying to say is this to me seems like the most significant kind of turnaround throughout this whole move down and then to this point here. And to me, it would make the least amount of sense to stop here. And then these would make more sense, but they're so insignificant. To me, the most significant thing that I can see on this chart would be this point of resistance, close enough to that. Point of resistance right here at the closing point. Let's get it right there. A bunch of resistance here, week after week after week. Resistance there as well, right? It's the top, it's kind of the center of this overall diamond pattern that you had at the top here. It's kind of the exact center of that point. Maybe you don't go there, maybe you go to the bottom of it, but again, you found support down here. Something in this range, to me, just looking at the price, would make the most sense. Why? Because you tore through this like hell. You're probably going to do the same thing, but faster on the way up, and I bet you don't stop until you stop at an area that you stopped before, right? And here you stopped for a little bit. Here you stopped for a week. Here you stopped for 2 weeks. Right? And then even more beyond that. To me, it would make the most sense that you would either stop here or here and not somewhere in between. And using that logic, it would make the least sense to stop here, because from a high to a low, on a fib perspective now, it's just unlikely that you stop here at 0.5. You're not going to see this kind of move would at least dictate for the 61869. Which would then imply that we hit the minimum target would technically be the maximum target, the optimal target for this golden ratio zone, which is above $300. Our minimum target for this breakout, you guys, we're at 68 bucks now, and people are worried. It's above $300, right? The true minimum target, technically, would be 235, and that is a 241% growth. I don't accept it though. It could happen. It could happen. Who cares what I accept or what I don't accept? It could happen. There's a low right there. There's a little bit of a high right there. To me, this seems like a more fruitful range to find resistance, and a lot of cryptos have bypassed their golden ratio and gone right to their 786, 886 zone, and that line is right smack dab in the middle. I don't know. Are we going to see a 2.4x? Sorry, a 3.4x? Are we going to see a 5.2x? Sorry, that would actually be a 6.2x, 500% of 6. Or are we going to see a 7.4x or more? I don't know. But even at the smallest, absolute lowest possibility of a move, we're still going to 3x our money or more. And at the most bullish kind of situation, you guys, this thing is nothing worth worrying about, to say the least, right? I fully expect Compound will do some phenomenal things. Just be patient, right? You've been so patient so long. Most people make the mistake of losing their patience right at the very end, right? Don't do that, right? It's just like the people that wanted to buy Compound here, they didn't buy until it was the absolute worst moment. Don't do that. Don't sell at the absolute worst moment, okay? If anything, it's a good time to buy. In fact, I would challenge you this. Anybody who owns Compound right now, if you're feeling kind of iffy on Compound and you're holding a basket of cryptos, my challenge is this. Yes, the house is a mess. I have a 2-year-old. I normally clean it up for the nighttime videos, but this is a daytime video, okay? So I challenge you to take your portfolio. Maybe not every coin in your portfolio, but let's say your top 5 coins. If you don't have 5 coins, that's okay. Take your top 3, whatever. The coin that you expect to pump the least over this next month and a half would probably be the one that you should put most money into. If that's Compound for you, I'm just saying, man, watch it happen. There's some big investors, big-minded investors, Warren Buffett, right? Why can't Charlie Munger? Other people whose names I'm drawing a blank on, who have all said that some of their best investments that have ever paid off in their lives were the ones that they expected to do the worst. And they've even put money intentionally into a stock that they thought would do bad because they wanted to try this. Because think about it. You put money into things you think are going to do good, and you're left bag holding. Most of the time, most people do. They're left holding for a long time. But then all these things that are surrounded with negative media that nobody wants to buy, those might be the most opportune to buy, the ones that people have a bad feeling about, right? Because people most of the time are wrong. Herd mentality is wrong. So if you buy the coin, this contrarianism is what this is. If you buy a coin or a stock or whatever, out of all the coins or stocks that you hold, and it's the one that you least likely believe to see the highest growth in the shortest amount of time, watch that one be the top performer. I'm not saying that's Compound. I'm not saying Compound will be the top performer. But there's definitely, there's some shiny objects in the sky right now. You've got shiny object syndrome. There's a bunch of coins that are pumping right now while Compound's being boring. Odds are, give it a month, Compound's going to be that shiny object in the sky, and people are going to wish that they bought Compound here at these prices, okay? I got nothing else for you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye.